this way of operating, creating good ancestor cities and working with compassionate systems change at local levels. But of course, all these towns will be connected. We will have, global infrastructure in support of all the ways in which the work grows locally, just as we have in our education systems around the world right now, where we have people from, Eastern Australia and Hong Kong and Japan in the same room as people from very rural and remote First Nations in British Columbia and in Mexico and California, and people from Europe, and all are in the same spaces. And how we can grow in places where we get to understand much more about the global context, but also recognize that we're all the same, is very generative. With the good ancestor cities, one of the kind of most intriguing responses I've seen when I kind of mapped out the consequences of how we're living now and how we can reverse that through our good ancestor cities as a kind of a leverage point for creating greater stability and being of support for our young people, so that the mental health and well-being of kids will stop declining as it is right now. And that perspective is that this is a solution to geopolitical stability. And geopolitical stability, of course, basically means that the trajectory we're on right now is increasing polarization in the world. And a lot of the artifacts that we have around us, like just social media or the way in which we relate to each other and, policies and so on, are increasing this polarization. And that increases, we become more and more estranged, and it decreases our stabilization in the world. So when we see increase in migration rates, for example, because of the consequences of climate change, we have a decrease in kind of responses that are humanitarian in a way, and they become, there's a lot of in-grouping that's really growing in these years. And that's not healthy for any of us, not even the people who feel safe because they're in grouping. So this kind of notion of creating geopolitical stability, at least prototyping or showcasing what it can look and feel like in these good ancestor cities, is really a way for us to also have a perspective on what could happen globally. What's the infrastructure and the global sense of community that could grow from people working towards a shared aspiration for the future from all these different places in the world. That's what we've seen in the systems of education in all these many, many countries and different cultures that we've worked with so far. And our aspiration is that this can happen also at a wider level with our ancestor cities.